Most people have a picture in their head of what getting rich is supposed to feel like. Not a vague picture. A specific one. It is the morning you wake up and the bank account finally has a number that makes you exhale instead of tense up. It is the month where nothing feels tight. It is the moment the financial noise in the back of your head just stops. That is the version of wealth most of us grew up watching. The dramatic shift. The visible upgrade. The life that finally looks different from the outside. But here is what nobody tells you. That moment almost never comes the way you expect it to. Because real wealth does not arrive like an announcement. It does not show up on a specific Tuesday and introduce itself. It does not send a notification. It accumulates quietly, invisibly, in the background of a life that looks, from the outside, and sometimes even from the inside, completely ordinary. And that is exactly the problem. The Federal Reserve reported in 2024 that the average American is carrying $6,329 in credit card debt. That number gets cited everywhere as evidence that Americans are failing financially. But here is what that same data does not show you: millions of Americans are crossing into genuine financial security every single year. Quietly. Without fanfare. Without a moment that felt like anything. They are building real wealth. And most of them do not know it. Not because they are not paying attention. But because progress at this stage looks exactly like nothing happening. Your checking account looks the same. Your salary has not made a dramatic jump. Your life does not look noticeably different from your coworkers, your neighbors, or the people you went to college with who seem, from what you can see online, to be doing slightly better than you. But looking the same is not the same as being the same. And that gap, between what is actually happening in your financial life and what it feels like is happening, is exactly what this video is about. When was the last time you actually felt like you were making real financial progress, not just surviving the month, but genuinely moving forward? Drop your answer in the comments right now. I want to know where you are starting from before we get into what the data actually says about where you might already be. Here's what I am going to show you in this video. 6 specific, data-backed signs that your financial life is already moving in the right direction, even if it feels completely invisible right now. Not motivational guesses. Not generic advice you have heard before. Actual behavioral and financial markers, grounded in real US data, that show up in people who are quietly building wealth without recognizing it in themselves. If even 3 of these 6 signs apply to your life, you are further ahead than you think. If you want videos that use real US data to show you where you actually stand financially, not where Instagram says you should be, not where your most successful friend makes you feel you should be, subscribe right now. This channel is built for people who are doing the work and want an honest read on what the work is actually producing. Sign 1, your wealth is growing in a place you never check. You open your bank account, the number looks the same as last month, and that familiar sinking feeling shows up, the one that says nothing is working. Most Americans measure financial progress by one number, their checking account balance. But your checking account is the worst possible place to look for evidence that you are getting richer. The Federal Reserve's 2022 survey of consumer finances shows the median U.S. household net worth is $192,700, and net worth has almost nothing to do with what is sitting in your checking account. Net worth is the total of everything you own minus everything you owe, your 401k, your home equity if you own, your investment accounts, and it grows in the background whether you watch it or not. If your net worth grew even 5 to 10% last year without a raise, something is already working that your bank balance will never show you. You have probably logged into your 401k once this year, glanced at the number, and closed the app without fully registering what you saw. That number is not decoration. It is the actual scoreboard, and it has been quietly updating while you were watching the wrong screen. The relief that comes from finally checking your real net worth, not just your checking balance, is one of the most underrated financial moments a person can have. This week, add up your 401k balance, any investment accounts, and subtract your total debt. That single number is your real financial position, and most people have never calculated it once in their life. And once you know that number, the second sign starts making a lot more sense. Sign 2, you have money sitting still that you are not touching. There was probably a time when any savings you had lasted about 3 weeks before something came up, a car repair, an unexpected bill, a flight you needed to book. The Federal Reserve found that 37% of Americans still cannot cover a $400 emergency without borrowing or selling something. Most people treat their emergency fund like a buffer account, money that exists until life needs it, which is almost always. The sign is not that you have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved. For a household spending $5,000 a month, that is $15,000 to $30,000. The sign is the behavioral shift underneath the dollar amount, the fact that you stopped treating that money as available and started treating it as a wall between your life and financial chaos. That mental reclassification, from savings you could use to money that does not move, is one of the clearest early markers of genuine financial stability. You know that shift has happened when a $600 car repair shows up and your first thought is annoyance, not panic. The problem is still real, but it stays the size it actually is. It does not spiral into 3 other problems the way it used to. That quiet, almost boring steadiness is not nothing. It is your nervous system telling you that money is no longer running your emotional life. Check right now whether your emergency fund is in a high-yield savings account earning 4 to 5% annually. If it is sitting in a standard savings account at 0.01%, it is losing ground to inflation every single month. Sign 3 is where most people's progress becomes completely invisible, even to themselves. Sign 3, your lifestyle did not follow your income up. Picture the moment a raise hits your account for the first time. Within 48 hours, a mental list forms almost automatically: the apartment upgrade, the car that finally makes sense, the subscriptions you have been putting off. Research consistently shows that for every $1 increase in income, the average American increases spending by 80 cents. Lifestyle inflation is not a choice most people make consciously, it just happens. Most people never realize they have been on a treadmill, earning more, spending more, arriving at the same financial position year after year. According to Fed data, roughly 60% of Americans save less than 5% of their income annually. If you earned $75,000 last year and saved $15,000, your savings rate is 20%, you are already doing something that 6 out of 10 Americans are not doing. The gap between what you earn and what you keep is not a personality trait. It is the actual engine that funds every future version of your financial life. You may have noticed that the raise came and the apartment felt fine as it was. You may have felt slightly guilty about that, like you should want more, like staying put means you are not ambitious enough. That guilt is misplaced. The person who did not upgrade the apartment is the one quietly building the life the person who did upgrade will eventually wish they had. Divide what you saved last month by what you earned. That percentage is your savings rate, and if it is above 15%, you are outperforming the majority of American households right now. Sign 4 is about a different kind of progress, one that most people feel but never think to celebrate. If this is landing for you, take 2 seconds and hit the like button. It tells YouTube this content is worth showing to more people who need to hear it, and it costs you nothing. Sign 4, debt is losing its grip on your monthly cash flow. Think about what it felt like when a significant portion of every paycheck was already spoken for before you spent $1 on your actual life. The Federal Reserve's 2024 data shows the average American sends 9.7% of their disposable income to debt payments every single month. For most people, debt is not just a financial condition, it is a monthly reminder that a version of past decisions is still running the present. The sign is not that your debt is gone, it is that the percentage of your income going to debt payments is shrinking, and that shrinkage is a stealth raise most people never stop to recognize. Someone who was sending $1,100 a month to minimum payments on $28,000 in debt, now down to $600 as those balances fall, has quietly reclaimed $500 a month of their own income. That $500, redirected into a Roth IRA, a retirement account where your money grows completely tax-free, becomes a genuine wealth-building position over time. You feel this sign before you calculate it. It is the first month that the paycheck felt slightly less tight than the month before. It is the moment you realize you are no longer dreading the first of the month the way you used to. That reduced dread is not a small thing. It is the feeling of debt's grip on your life getting looser, and it is one of the most underrated financial wins available to an ordinary American household. Add up your total monthly debt payments and divide by your monthly take-home pay. If that percentage has dropped compared to a year ago, you have given yourself a raise that never showed up in your paycheck. Sign 5 is the one that separates people who build wealth from people who always feel like they are about to. Sign 5, you started asking a different question about money. For most of your life, every financial decision started with one question: can I afford this? That question is not wrong, but it is the question of someone whose entire financial relationship with the world is organized around not running out. Most Americans spend their entire lives making decisions from that single frame, and it keeps them permanently reactive to money rather than ahead of it. Gallup's 2024 data shows 58% of Americans now own some form of stocks, up from 52% in 2016, and the shift driving that change is not income, it is a question. Somewhere along the way, you stopped asking "can I afford this" and started asking "what does this do for me financially?" And that single shift in framing is one of the clearest behavioral divides between people who accumulate wealth and people who do not. Moving $10,000 from a standard savings account paying 0.01% into a high-yield savings account paying 4.5% is not a complicated financial move, it is the result of asking a different question. You may have made a decision recently that surprised you slightly. You chose the option that built something over the option that felt good immediately. It did not feel like a sacrifice. It felt like the obvious move, almost without thinking. That quiet shift in your default, from spending instinct to building instinct, does not announce itself. It just starts showing up in your decisions, and one day you look back and realize the frame changed. Look at the last 3 financial decisions you made this month. If even one of them was framed around what the money would do rather than whether you could spend it, the shift has already started. The 6th sign is the one most people dismiss entirely, and it may be the most powerful one on this list. Sign 6, the things that used to feel like rewards no longer do. There is a specific kind of Saturday that used to feel like freedom, the one where you spent without thinking about it, a nice dinner, a few drinks, something bought because it felt good to buy it, and you told yourself you deserved it. The Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Expenditure Survey puts the average American household's annual dining out spend at $3,030, not because Americans love restaurants, but because spending has historically been the primary American delivery system for the feeling of reward. For a long time, the expensive thing was the point. The sign is not that you stopped spending, it is that the $200 dinner no longer produces the feeling it once did. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation, the documented human tendency to return to a baseline level of satisfaction regardless of external rewards, and it tends to show up quietly in people whose values around money are genuinely shifting. You did not decide to stop being impressed by expensive things. Your internal scoreboard just quietly changed what it was keeping score of. You have probably sat at an expensive meal recently and felt, not ungrateful, not unhappy, just slightly unmoved by the price tag in a way that would have surprised a younger version of you. That experience can feel like something is wrong, like you have lost the ability to enjoy things. Nothing is wrong. Your relationship with money matured past the point where spending it is the primary source of satisfaction, and that is one of the rarest and most underrated signs of real financial progress. Think about the last time you spent a significant amount of money purely for the feeling of spending it. If that impulse is showing up less frequently than it did 2 years ago, this sign applies to you. The people getting rich are not living smaller lives. They are just no longer impressed by expensive ones. Progress at this stage has no notification. There is no alert, no banner, no moment where something announces itself. You might feel ordinary right now, while your net worth is quietly compounding. You might feel behind right now, while your savings rate is already ahead of 60% of American households. You might feel like nothing is changing, while your instincts around money are already operating from a completely different place than they were 2 years ago. This week, do one thing: calculate your actual savings rate, divide last month's savings by last month's income, and sit with that number honestly. If it is above 15%, you are doing something most Americans are not doing, and you deserve to know that. Drop that percentage in the comments below, no judgment, no competition, just real data from real people, and let's see where this community actually stands. You may not feel rich yet. But if your habits have already changed, your future already has too. If this gave you a clearer picture of where you actually stand, watch the next video. It covers the quiet daily habits that make this kind of progress almost impossible to stop once it starts. The link is right here. If this gave you a clearer picture of where you actually stand, watch the next video. It covers the quiet daily habits that make this kind of progress almost impossible to stop once it starts. The link is right here.